Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lit in English. And thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for going on this long journey. But we are finally here at the very last part of season 5 of Lit in English. And in the next 7 days, we are going to discuss the seven holistic wealths. So if you remember, we have introduced this back in the very beginning in the principle of light. But now we are going to dive in much deeper in the seven holistic wealth. And the topic for today is wisdom. But just before we move to the seven holistic wealth, let's just do a quick recap on what we did in last week presentation. So last week we introduced the seven magnitude of life, and it is the seven magnitude of life is the last part of code number 3 in 3773, and it is introducing the seven steps that one could take to reach the peak, the spire of the magnitude of life. And it is actually quite simple to put it uh, in our understanding. So it is a journey through time freedom, through uh, financial freedom, about career and life, as we mentioned in the presentation 2 and 3 weeks ago about the dream life and the dream career. Most of us start with a career and we will find success. But just because we have success in our job or in our career, that it's not enough. It is also important to have a balance, a good life. And once we reach true happiness with success in business and having a good health, have family harmony, we started to materialize happiness. We started to have a sense of happiness. And by helping other people be happy, we reach the pinnacle, the meaning of life. And then we spread that goodness to build our culture. So if you wasn't here last week, I highly recommend to just go back to our recording, and you will have a much better understanding of the importance of leaning toward magnitude number 7, which is culture. All right. So let's moving on to the 7 holistic web. All right. So in the beginning of our journey, we introduced the 7 holistic wealth as a as a way to be able to stand above the problem that arises in life. And that's we have already introduced. If we were to simplify all of our problem in life into 4 categories, and that would be the inner self, health, relationship, and finance. And the reason we simplify all of this problem into 4 categories is to make it simpler to recognize what we need to work on. And even when we recognize the 4 big category, we still need to have a way to grow, to maintain, and to excel from these 4 category. And by doing that, we will be proactive rather than reactive. And just a quick recap: proactive is when you are fully aware of the problem and you work on it instead of waiting for it to happen, instead of waiting for it to occur and then trying to fix it. So that is the foundation of the principle of light, right? Instead of trying to solve in darkness, we are focused on light. Another way to put it is appreciative inquiry. Instead of focusing on the problem and trying to fix it, we focus on what works, what bring in the result, and then we focus on making it even greater. So thanks to the teacher and the wise men, all of the experts who have pointed out to us that it is even simpler to focus on the seven holistic wealth, which are wisdom, presence, nobility, virtue, capability, physique, and material. So today we are going to introduce wisdom, which is the very foundation of our house, of our inner self. And wisdom connect directly to our inner self, as you remember. Okay. So wisdom is all about the inner self. By elevating our wisdom, we will be able to strengthen the foundation of the house in order to build a strong and stable house where we can build at highs or as big as we can. The foundation need to be strong. It need to be stable. Therefore, wisdom itself is the very, very foundation of a holistic life, which is including the seven holistic wealth. All right. So let's moving on to the roadmap that we are going to draw out. Feel free to grab a pen, a piece of paper to write it down along the way, because this is how we will be able to just not only understand but absorb the information better. Sure that you still see my sharing. Right. Okay. I'm going to write the title of today's presentation. So when we speak about wisdom, there are five realms of wisdom. Let's just go ahead and write it up top. I'm going to call it the five realms of wisdom. All right. So in order to understand wisdom better, it is important to divide it into five realms, or you can call it the five level of wisdom. And by understanding the differences between these five, uh, it is easier for us to elevate our wisdom. And of course, when people speak of wisdom, they tend to thinking about advice from a wise man or the advice from the expert, and they would think that is wisdom, but that is not the entire definition of wisdom. So for our presentation, wisdom is the intellectual property of our understanding of the world around us. And there are different level of thinking. There's different level to our intellectual well-being. There's different type of wisdom, and the best way to understand it is going through the five realms of wisdom. All right. So the first one is, let's go ahead and write number one as level number one of wisdom. A person who have the wisdom, number one, they will be able to have an internal state of mind, internal perception, uh, people, event, object, phenomena, circumstances, and they would understand and be able to differentiate the right or wrong, good or bad, true or false, what they should be doing or what they should not be doing. So let's just go ahead and write down right and wrong, as in they are able to differentiate between right and wrong. Right slash wrong. They will be able to differentiate between true versus false. They will be able to differentiate between good and bad. They will be able to what should or should not be done versus not not be done. All right, why it is important? The first realm of wisdom, the realm number one, is the most common to all of us. Most of us are able to differentiate between right and wrong, true and false, good or bad, the thing that we should be doing and the thing we should not be doing. It is the essential of our being, of our experience in this life. It is something that we learn from the very beginning. And this is the journey of parenting, teaching. This is about our understanding of the world around us. And in all five realms of wisdom, we have the inner awareness of all five realms. However, when we speak of wisdom, it is about how can we apply these knowledge, these understanding to better our life. And that be that be differentiated in this presentation, right? So, for example, when we were younger and we didn't understand how um, fire can burn us, for example, and then we happen to touch a hot object and get burned, and then we realize that maybe we should not touch a hot object with our bare hand because we will get burned and it will take a while to heal. It will hurt. So that is a realization of what happened, knowing between the right and wrong, between true and false, good or bad, should or what should not be done. And you can see this as the principle of light versus dark, right versus wrong. This is duality. Now, once we have that understanding, what we can do is that we can lean in toward right instead of wrong. We will lean in toward true instead of false. We will be leaning toward good instead of bad. And we will be leaning toward what we should be doing and move away from what we should not be doing. So there is a famous quote in psychology, and they literally mention about the first rim of wisdom. It said that people tend to move toward pleasure and away from pain. And it is extremely, extremely important if you can just apply this understanding of this very important, very popular saying, you will live a very, very good life. And I'm going to repeat this again. People are tend to move toward pleasure and away from pain. And they might do that in a subconscious level. And as I mentioned earlier, all of us have an awareness sometime in our life of the five realm of wisdom. But just because we experience it doesn't mean that we apply it consciously. Okay. So if we have a deep understanding that people are leaning toward pleasure and moving away from pain, it is easier for us to be a person that other people like to be near. Let's say there's a teaching about the five expression of love. So there are some people who like to receive a gift, and if you provide that for them, they will definitely help increase your relationship. Or there are people who would like to spend quality time with you. If you can just do that, you can just create an environment where they feel happy, where they feel appreciative, then they will gravitate toward you, right? So instead of waiting for things to happen and then recognize that, oh, that is a good thing or that is a bad thing, you make a conscious decision to, again, leaning toward right instead of wrong, leaning toward true instead of false, leaning toward good instead of bad, and leaning toward what should be done and instead of what should not be done. And that would be the wisdom, the first realm of wisdom. It is extremely, extremely important to build a desirable life in this way. All right. And to keep it simple, the very first realm of wisdom is an application of the principle of life. Right. And I'm going to repeat the principle of life very quickly, just so we can have a recap on the very, very foundational of the first realm of wisdom. So the principle of light tell us that if we were to walk in a dark room, instead of trying to get the darkness out of the room, all we have to do is to turn on the light. So in this way, instead of focusing on wrong, trying to solve problems, instead of focusing on false, instead of focusing on bad thing, instead of focusing on what should not be done, instead of focusing the problem in life, instead of focusing on darkness, all we have to do is turn on the light, which means we are consciously turn on right instead of wrong, turn on that true instead of false, good instead of bad, and should instead of should not be done. And again, a teaching that very much related to the principle of light is the idea of being proactive instead of being reactive. Being proactive means we take conscious action to prevent wrong from happening, prevent false from happening, preventing bad from happening, prevent should not be done from happening. On the other side, being reactive is that you're waiting for the problem to happen and then you're trying to solve it, as in trying to get doctor outside of the room. So the essence of the principle of light is to make the conscious decision to focusing on the good thing, the right thing, the true, the good thing, the thing that should have been done. And that in itself is the essence of the first realm of wisdom. Those who have the first realms of wisdom, the one who acquire this, they tend to live a very, very good life in this physical world, because when things go right, when things goes good, when things is true and should be done, and you focus on that, your life is filled with positivity. Your life will be filled with favorable outcome, and it's just applying that very first realm of wisdom that's very foundational. You will already mastering this life, this physical world, right? So moving on to the second realm of wisdom. Number two. So the number two tell us that the root cause, the root cause start from me, or you can call it with me from, or you can call it with. Right? As simple as you see it on the piece of paper, the realm of wisdom number three is extremely, extremely powerful. Okay. All right. And in order to understand the second realms of wisdom, we have to understand the inner awareness of the second realm of wisdom. So the inner awareness is, let's use the example of myself from years ago, when I consciously make an effort to lose weight, to look better, to be healthier. So during that time, I went to the gym, and then I hired a coach to help me with my physical exercise. And I did that because I realized that me being overweight back then was because of myself, because I wasn't eating healthy, I didn't exercise enough. And I realized that all of that problem start from me myself. The root cause start from me. It start with me. So the inner awareness of that is the realization that the root cause start from me. And all of us have that awareness sometime in our life. And again, the difference between inner awareness and true wisdom is that what can you do about it? Once you have that inner awareness, what can you do to better yourself, to have a better life? So 12 years ago, when it's come to health, I have a realization that it was because of me that I was overweight. It was because of me that I didn't exercise enough. And being aware of that, I took action to have a healthier diet, to start going to the gym, and I make the commitment of hiring uh, a coach to help me with my physical exercise. And that is just one example. And please understand that in in our life, we can apply each level or each realms of this wisdom to anything. Okay. So for number two, even though I gave an example about physical well-being, about our health, the understanding of the second realm of wisdom will allow you to apply the wisdom to every other matter in life. Let's take finance, for example. Let's say you have a business and your business wasn't doing well. The second that you realize and have to understand it, that the root cause start from you, from your business, you will be able to make the conscious decision to take action on yourself, from yourself, to become better. Okay? And it is very, very important. The people who doesn't have the inner awareness, the people who don't have the understanding that everything start with them, the root cause start from them, they tend to blame other people for their failure, for example. And if you notice when good thing happen in life, people tend to take all the credit. They're like, oh, that's happened because I did it, because I was so good that I was able to predict what I needed to do and I took action. And all of that success was because of me. However, when things didn't go their way, they would tend to blame other. And I did this all the time in my past. In early 2010, I started to work on restaurant business, and I have this big vision of owning not only a successful restaurant, but I was planning to start the entire franchise. I have a vision of having my restaurant all over the world, and I just knew that I could do it. And I had my success, you know, it just the success couldn't get to where I wanted to be. There's always a blockage, uh, a tipping point where the business just couldn't grow. And the harder that I try to work on it, it just declining and it is declining. And I started to realize that like my effort wasn't enough. I needed the effort of other, but instead of building a strong team that I did, I started to blaming people. I started uh, to pointing out problem, but I didn't realize that what the root cause start from me. It start with me because if I was a strong leader, if I knew how to build good relationship, I would have found the right people, the right team to build my business, to build my dream. So the people who have wisdom level two or the second realm of wisdom, they understand that everything start with them. Everything that they have in life, whether it is good or bad, right or wrong, true or false, should or should not have happened. It's all happened because of you yourself because of them themselves. And once you have this inner awareness that everything start from you, everything start with you, it is first of all, it is easier to start working on yourself instead of hoping other who will do it for you. And the second thing is you stop blaming people, because if you stop blaming other people, you will not focusing on yourself. And and this is super important in my life, because if you truly think about it, let's put it this way: the way that we view the world are based on our five senses. That's the very basic of it. So everything that you can see, everything that you can hear, everything that you can smell, taste, and touch, those are the five senses. But do you realize that when information comes to you, all of that information to the five senses is get processed in your brain, and your brain will make sense of it based on the information that you receive. Therefore, everything that you know, it is just your perception. It's not necessarily to be the truth. So by blaming other people, you are stepping away from the truth, from the genuine truth of not only yourself, but the genuine truth of the outer world. And I had this realization back in 2009 when I was taking um, a psychology class, and in that lecture, the professor told us about an experience that he had when he was driving, and his name is Dr. Yuzo. The Dr. Yuzo said that there was one day that he was driving to the college to work, and there was there was this car that just driving so fast and just zigzag through the road, and that car cut Doctor's ears off. And at first he was angry because it was so dangerous. He was angry at the regular driver at first, and that he take a moment to think about it, and because he had so much compassion, he had so much loving, and he thought to himself, oh, maybe that guy were in a hurry, maybe his family happened to have an emergency, and maybe that was the reason that uh, that person was driving recklessly. A couple of months later, his pet got happened to he got bit by a snake. So Dr. Yuzo had to take his dog and drive it to the hospital. And on that day, he became the person who drive recklessly, zigzagging through the traffic, trying to get to the hospital as fast as he could. So in life, our perception, our point of view might not be aligned with reality. So it is important to realize that everything starts from us, the good and the bad. And sometimes the perspective shift very quickly, just because we simply don't have enough information. And once you understand that everything starts from me, from with me, it will be extremely powerful to make the conscious decision to work on yourself, right? Because you want life to happen for you and not happen to you. And again, this is very much relatable back to the principle of life, being proactive instead of being reactive. Instead of waiting to get sick, you can work on yourself. You have a realization that you can work on yourself, you can be healthier, you can boost your immune system. And the same go for knowledge, intellectual well-being. By having the second realm wisdom, you will be able to make a conscious choice to work on yourself. And this is extremely, extremely powerful. And as you can see, the first realm of wisdom and the second realm of wisdom is kind of go hand in hand. But the upper level is that instead of just leaning toward right, instead of leaning toward the true, good, what should have been done, we have a realization that not only we leaning toward, we can take action to better ourselves because everything start from me, start with me. And this remind me of a very important that I learned, or to be precise, I came across back in 2009. That was like 15 years ago. I came across this teaching, the 10 law of being human by, um, I forgot her name, but she wrote a very famous book about understanding yourself. So in that book, there is a list of 10 rule of being human. And one of the rules say that you cannot see the good thing or the bad thing from other unless you have it yourself, as in your perception of other people is the reflection of yourself. And I'm going to put it in simpler word. Okay? And this is one of the very, very important lessons that I have learned in life. Feel free to write this down if you want to. The quote is, you cannot see what you do not have. I'm going to repeat this again. You cannot see what you do not have, which means that when you see good things from other people, when you see people as kind, as good, as intelligent, all of the good things that you can see in other, you have to have it in order to see it, right? Similarly, whenever you see bad thing about other people, negative thing, let's say some people did something wrong to you and you started to hate them so much for doing it, you are only able to see it because you have it too. Okay? You might not accept it that way, but that is the truth. Okay? When you started to have this awareness of, let's say, people be mean to you, or how racist a person is, for example, or how cruel a person is, all of it, both the good and the bad, you cannot see it unless you have it, right? An example is, have you ever had an experience where, let's say, you like a car, um, a Toyota Camry, for example, since that is a very popular car, right? Like once you, let's say you want to buy Toyota Camry so much, you want to uh, to buy that car, you want to own that car, and all of the sudden, when you start driving or take public transportation, you start to notice that you see in that car more because you were aware of it. But prior to wanting that car, prior to being aware and focused on that car, you didn't see it before, even though it might come It might be on the street at all time. And that's applied for many, many other things in our life. We didn't become aware of it until we have it, until we have it in our mind. So the root cause of life is similar in that way, right? So instead of blaming other, we need to come to a realization that everything starts with us, because that is how we experience the world. That is our perception of the world. So instead of blaming other, we need to have a realization that all the things that we blaming on other people, those things, is reflect right back to us. Okay. And this is the tough truth, but please understand that that is the absolute truth. So the second realm of wisdom, or you can call it the level 2 wisdom, is applying that inner awareness to life, right? And having that wisdom, you start working on yourself. And by working on yourself, you will materialize right instead of wrong, true instead of false, good instead of bad. You will be able to materialize what should be done instead of what should not be done. And you literally taking control back of your life. You will be in control of your destiny by working on yourself. And let me bring you in with a very important secret, because if you make an observation of a successful person compared to a not as successful person, you will be able to see that a successful person often see good in other. Right? There's a research study done about different leadership quality, different leadership style, and they look at two groups. Group number one is the collective of manager who believe in their employee. They have absolute belief that their employee will go to work on time. They expect their employee to work well together, love each other. And it's turned out exactly the way that they see it, as they believe it. On the other hand, group number two, there are people who manage, who leading with a doubt of people. They believe like, oh, if they are not there, if they don't watch over the employee would not get the work done right. So they they use their strong fist to make sure that people do their job correctly. And it's turned out that it's because of that energy, just because of that belief, the staff started to materialize the negativity that the manager put on them. So there are many, many different levels to that example. But to connect it with the second realm of wisdom, you will see that the difference between the the group number one and the group number two is that the group number one, those people are great leader, those people are great manager. It wasn't that they choose to see good thing from other people. It is the fact that all of the good quality, they have it. Okay. Every single one of those manager or those leader, they expect themselves to go to work on time. They expect themselves to do a really, really great job at work. They they have it in themselves to build better relationship with other people. And by having those quality, it is like the principle of light where they lit up and their wisdom kind of like spread out to other people. And just by being uh, near that energy, it's influence other employee to gain the same quality. Very, very powerful. So you yourself can actually affect the people around you. And once you have the inner awareness of the second realm of wisdom, which indicate that the root cause start from you, and you can start taking action with you, then you are being proactive instead of reactive. And that is the application of the inner awareness of the second realm of wisdom. Right. So let's move on to the three very quickly, because usually I like to keep the presentation within an hour. And of course, in the future, we will have more opportunity to dive in even deeper. All right, the second realm is done. Now moving on to the third realm of wisdom. And the third realm of wisdom is inner emptiness. So you might have heard of inner peace before, or maybe at peace. Some might even call it happiness. Let's just use the word that many masters use, which is inner emptiness. So what is the inner emptiness? And why is it important? Why is it called the third realm of wisdom? So inner emptiness is a state of mind where you are very balanced, where you experience peace, complete peace. You are being very mindful of the present. And some of you might have know it with a different name like mindfulness. Many people practice meditation, or maybe medication if you choose to go that route. But usually, many practice um, that people are doing, and people has been doing it for thousands and thousands of years to reach this inner emptiness. And of course, when we speak of the five realms of wisdom, we have to understand that there is an inner awareness of it. And once you have the inner awareness and you are able to apply it, that is when you truly reach wisdom. So why is inner emptiness important? It is important because once you reach this understanding of the inner emptiness, you can then focus fully on the task at hand. So let me give you a couple of example of the application of the inner emptiness, so that you can see the power in this. And I'm super thankful to have learned this inner self, the understanding of our inner self, and connect it to happiness study that I got to learn recently. All right. So the inner emptiness, you can relate it to mindfulness and meditation. And when you want to use the viewpoint from science, there is There's a research done. There's also a book that has been written, many books, in fact, about flow, the state of flow. And that research was done back in the 80s. So flow is a state where it's also called peak performance, and the study was done on athletes. And you know how, like, let's say a basketball player, when they get into a flow state, they they started to losing their feeling of space and time. They were just flowing through the game, and they seem to be unstoppable. They can score very seamlessly. And similarly, let's look at a singer, for example, or a musician, and when they performing, when they sing that beautiful song, or when they play that amazing piano piece, you can actually feel their inner emptiness. But it's not completely emptiness because they they apply the third realm of wisdom, whereas the performance is it's not completely empty. It's just they empty out everything else and they only focus on the task at hand. A basketball player, they only focus on how to play well in that game. A musician, when they are performing, they are only flowing through that beautiful piece of music. Or a singer, when they sing, they only focus on singing. There's no any other thought but the task at hand. And that is the application of the third realm of wisdom. That is the application of mindfulness, of flow. Extremely powerful. And I want you to see the application of the third realm of wisdom like this. Imagine you have like a cup of water, like what I have right here. If I were to just use this water and I'll just splash it against the wall, it's not going to be able to do anything with the wall because the force is not strong enough. But if the same amount of water that I have in this cup, if I were to put it on, if I were to put it in a pressure wash, okay? So the pressure wash is a machine where you put water in there and it's applied pressure, and all of the water shoot out from a very small area. And because of high pressure, the water shooting out is so powerful. People use it to clean car. Some people even use it to cut metal. The force is tremendous when we use a pressure gun. So similarly, by focus on a very small area, or precisely by focusing on one task at hand, by getting into that flow state and focusing on only one thing, you become extremely powerful. And in the case of a basketball player, he would be unstoppable. In the case of a singer, she or he can sing the most beautiful song at that very moment. It says all they are focusing on is just the one thing, right? And this thing is applicable to scientists, to the expert, to our professor at school, researcher. And what they do is that they only focus on one task at hand. They have their expertise, and when they can apply the inner emptiness to get into that flow state, and when they are that balanced, they focus on one thing and one thing only. That would be the application of the inner awareness. And on that note, there is a huge connection of the third realm of wisdom to the fourth. And the fourth, I would just call it a certain knowledge. Certain knowledge. And a word that you might hear more often in writing is called the epiphany. Just write it lowercase. You can see the difference better. Epiphany, which is the description of a moment where you have a certain realization, a certain knowledge. Kind of like Newton when he his story of how he was sitting under the apple tree and he has been contemplating about the theory of gravity, and all of a sudden an apple fall and hit his head, and he has an epiphany. He had a certain knowledge about gravity, and people would argue that he got to that inner awareness because he was at the state of the inner emptiness, right? Because after consciously thinking really, really hard about how to solve the the gravitational topic, he kind of got tired of it. So he just rests um, near the tree, and he certainly had an epiphany, and he was able to connect to that knowledge. So when people reach the third realm of wisdom, sometimes they elevate it to the fourth realms, certainly. And this is well recorded in history, in story of, let's say, Tesla, Albert Einstein, physicists, even doctor or lawyer. You see this everywhere. And of course, in order to call it true wisdom, you have to be able to apply it, right? Inner awareness is just you waiting for it to happen to you. You are being reactive to it. Being proactive to it, that is wisdom. And there are people who can apply the inner awareness of wisdom when it's come to level 3 and 4, or the realm of 3 and 4. And the research on flows give us a lot of information how to do that, how to be balanced and then focusing on what we want to achieve. And this is the reason you will see that athlete, they have their pre-game ritual, as in before they perform, before they go to that state, before they play that basketball game, they have their ritual of listening to music or just meditation, relax. Same thing for musician and singer. Before their performance, of course, they did a lot of practicing. However, they have that periods where they are getting ready, and they may not even call this by name. But prior to their performance, whether consciously or subconsciously, they have their ritual to get to that inner emptiness. And then they focus only one thing, that is their performance. Successful researchers and scientists, they apply the same thing. And they call this the spiral of knowledge, where they reach to this mindfulness state, that this inner emptiness state, and they focus in one one topic only. If they were to research the gravity, that's all they're focusing on. Let's say if they focus on happiness study, for example, they would focus on that. And that is the application of the fourth realm of wisdom in combination with the third realms of wisdom. Now, last but not least, five. This would be called omniscience. Um, omniscience. So omniscience is a state of all knowing. And because you are all knowing, you have all understanding. And at the fifth realm of wisdom, at this point, I think it is better to just focus on your inner awareness of it instead of application. Because my teacher, my master mentor, my grandmaster mentor, told me that in the entire history of human being, there was only one person that was able uh, to get here, and that is the Buddha. And and because it is just beyond our understanding, therefore I'm not going to speak much on the fifth realms of wisdom. However, all of us have the inner awareness of all five of this state of wisdom. So at level five, even though as crazy as it sounds, all of us have had and can have the experience of omniscience. So what is omniscience? And in a way, okay, the third realm, the fourth realm, and the fifth realm, in a way, they are very similar because you kind of have to get to uh, the third realm before you can move up to the fourth and the fifth. But what I can tell you is that when you in the inner awareness of the fifth realm of wisdom, you will experience, you will be experience complete peace. Some people might call it nirvana. You reach nirvana, or a simple word, you just reach peace, right? Remember the word people used to put on the tombstones, they rest in peace. And so when someone died, and they would write the word rest in peace. But the focusing of in peace is that you can actually rest in peace. You can get it almost like a place where you get to and you feel peaceful. And then there's a word that I like a lot. It's called at peace because it sounds very similar to happy. So being at peace is like you are in peace, but you are at it. And because the reason that you can be peaceful is because of omniscience, because of all knowing. And somehow at that state, you feel like you have all the answer to all of the questions in life, whether it is your life or everybody else's life, or it's just knowledge of the world. It's almost like you not only connected to, let's say, the library of the world or the entire knowledge of the universe itself, you you are at it, you are at the center of it. And because you have the knowledge, the entirety of the knowledge out there, you were able to reach a state of peace. Thus, imagine if you have the answer to all of the question in the world, then obviously you no longer have any question. You have this absolute understanding of all things. And this can be described as omniscient. And even though it sounds really, really big, sound like hard to comprehend, believe it or not, all of us have experienced this sometime in the past, and we surely uh, have this experience in the future. But how to apply it, I don't know. I don't know at this point. But what I can tell you that I have experienced it. The people that I have talked to have experienced this. They might not understand what it is, but they can understand it, and not be explained, right? It's like uh, it's like when you stand in the cold, only you know how the cold feel like. Or let's say when you are extremely happy, when you get accepted to a school of your dream, or when you get your dream job, how happy you are. Only you can know of that feeling. Omniscient is kind of like that in a way. And I can only tell you that we are all capable of having that experience. And we can get there by applying the third realm of wisdom and the fourth realm of wisdom. And instead of having just one epiphany, instead of having just one certain knowledge, you have the entirety knowledge of the universe itself. Extremely powerful. And another thing that I can tell you is that once you get there, you will no longer trapped in the perception of space and time. And this cannot be explained that, but to me, it just makes a lot of sense because just imagine having the entirety of knowledge just appear, right? So that definitely is beyond space and time. For example, there's actually a research study done recently. Not recently, it's like 10, 20 years old, but not too many people know about it. It is called the entanglement. Entanglement is when you have two atoms, very small atom, and somehow these two atom is it's got entanglement. It's got into an entanglement, as in one when you move one atom, the other one react and it's moved the exact same way. So let's say that electron, for example. So when that electron spinning from right to left, the other one is also moving from the right to left. And if somehow you cause the first electron to move from left to right, the second that, not the second, the very moment that the first electron moving from left to right, the second electron moving from the left to right as well. And it does not matter of the distance. Let's say you have one electron in Vietnam and the other electron in New York City in the US, for example. The moment that the first electron spin, the second one spin in the same direction. Or let's say if you have one on Earth and the other one in the moon or anywhere through space-time, you will get the same reaction. And the beauty of it is we we've been told that the fastest speed is the speed of light. But even with the speed of light, it takes some time for light to travel from the sun to Earth. But in this omniscient sense, everything happened instantly, just like the entanglement and the connection of the two electrons. So in a way, it is beyond space-time, and it is very special. I don't know how to explain the application of it, but it is definitely there. Um, it's it is no secret because it's been practicing everywhere in the world, and I think lucky for us, we do have a kind of like a roadmap of how to get there, how to have wisdom, the 5 realms of wisdom, and we do have the information that in order to get to number 5, you can practice and apply emptiness and the 4th realm of wisdom, sort of knowledge or the epiphany of it. And that is this, everyone. That is the introduction of wisdom. And of course, in this journey, we will continue to explore this for many, many years to come. In the future, we will open this for discussion. And with that, we reach the end of the presentation. And I would like to thank you so much for being here, for joining us. And I will see you next time. All right. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.